Welcome to World This Week. WHO declares Ebola outbreak in DRC, Uganda a global emergency. An outbreak of Ebola has killed 65 people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, health officials said. There have been 246 suspected cases of the hemorrhagic fever reported so far in the conflict-hit Ituri province, which shares borders with Uganda and South Sudan. Uganda's health ministry said it had also confirmed an outbreak, and that a 59-year-old man had died in a Kampala hospital from the disease after traveling from the DRC. Ebola is a severe illness with a high fatality rate. It is spread through direct contact with body fluids such as the blood or vomit of infected people or dead bodies, such as during funeral preparations. Africa CDC said the DRC's National Research Laboratory had detected the Ebola virus in 13 of 20 samples tested. The DRC has had 16 outbreaks of Ebola since the virus was identified there in 1976. Typically, it has been the Zaire strain of Ebola, for which vaccines are available. However, DRC health officials said the samples tested were of the Bundibugyo strain, for which there is no licensed vaccine. There have been 2 previous outbreaks of Bundibugyo virus, in 2007 and 2012. Donald Trump has said U.S. and Nigerian forces killed the second-in-command global leader of the Islamic State. Trump says Islamic State, second-in-command, killed by U.S. and Nigerian forces. U.S. President calls Abu Bilal al-Minuki most active terrorist in the world, and says he was eliminated in very complex mission. Trump thanked the government of Nigeria for its partnership on the operation, while not disclosing exactly where it took place or the form of attack involved. Al-Minuki, a Nigerian national, was designated as a specially designated global terrorist by the former Biden administration in 2023, according to the U.S. Federal Register. At the time, the State Department called him a Sahel-based IS senior leader and part of its General Directorate of Provinces, the group's administrative body that provides operational guidance and funding around the world. The U.S. carried out strikes targeting Islamic State-linked militants in Nigeria in December. Since then, Washington has deployed drones and 200 troops to provide training and intelligence support to the Nigerian military against Islamic State and Al-Qaeda-linked insurgencies that are spreading across West Africa. Toddlers among more than 50 schoolchildren kidnapped in Nigeria. Gunmen have kidnapped more than 50 children from 3 schools in the same town in northeastern Nigeria. Teachers and parents have told media. Most of those missing are aged between 2 and 5 years old. Eyewitnesses who saw the attacks on Friday morning in Musa, Borno State, say the suspects used the children as human shields while fleeing on motorbikes, preventing security forces from opening fire. Although no group has claimed responsibility for the attacks, reports indicate that the Islamist group Boko Haram is behind the attacks. Nigeria is currently facing a series of mass kidnappings by several criminals. The traumatized parents said they had no choice but to wait in agony for news about their children. Parents said the attackers abducted 34 nursery school children aged 5 and under from their classrooms. Residents said the suspected militants arrived at the schools on motorcycles shortly after the patrolling soldiers left the town. Witnesses said the gunmen fired sporadically, forcing residents to run for cover. Several parents watched helplessly from a nearby hilltop as their children were taken away on motorcycles. Residents said some older students fled into nearby bushes. Canadian from hantavirus-hit cruise ship tests positive. A Canadian who sailed on the cruise ship MV Hondius, which was hit by a hantavirus outbreak in April, has tested positive for the disease, officials in the province of British Columbia say. The individual, one of 4 people isolating on Vancouver Island after leaving the ship, had developed mild symptoms. The province's senior health officer said the 4 had not had any contact with the public since arriving in Canada. The case brings the total number of infections to 11, all among cruise passengers. 3 people who traveled on the ship have died, with 2 confirmed to have had the virus. Trump posts AI image warning of calm before the storm amid Iran-US war. Donald Trump has warned of the calm before the storm in a post on Truth Social. It comes as reports suggest the U.S. and Israel are undergoing the most intense preparations for renewed attacks against Iran since the ceasefire was agreed last month. U.S. President Donald Trump has left Beijing after a two-day summit. Terrific trade deals, great for both countries, U.S. President Donald Trump said, but few details have emerged about what the two superpowers agreed to. He was accompanied by a high-level business delegation that covered agriculture, aviation, electric vehicles and artificial intelligence, AI chips, along with several CEOs. Trade was high on the agenda despite recent tensions over the Iran war, and businesses were hoping for major deals, including an extension of a tariff pact set to expire in November. Warm rhetoric and symbolism defined the visit. Trump was treated to a packed itinerary that included an honor guard, a state banquet and an invitation to the exclusive compound, where China's Communist Party leaders live and work. Israeli strikes kill 6 in southern Lebanon hours after extension of ceasefire. Israel carried out airstrikes in southern Lebanon, killing at least 6 people, including 3 paramedics working at a health center, just hours after its envoys had agreed with the Lebanese government to extend a ceasefire. Israel also said it had killed the Hamas military chief, Izz al-Din al-Haddad, in a targeted strike in Gaza on Friday. Large-scale Ukrainian drone attack kills 3 in Moscow region, says Russia. 3 people were killed overnight in a large-scale Ukrainian drone attack on the Moscow region, Russian officials have said. A woman died in a house in Khimki, north of the capital, where a person was trapped under rubble, regional governor Andrei Vorobyev said. A man and a woman were killed in the village of Pogorelki. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said 12 people were injured in strikes on a city oil refinery. Russia's military said 556 drones were intercepted. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the strikes were an entirely justified response to deadly Russian attacks on Ukrainian cities. Hundreds of wildfires burn across Florida and Georgia. Georgia and Florida are battling numerous wildfires that have destroyed homes and forced evacuations. On Wednesday, firefighters in Georgia had responded to 34 new blazes that had burned 75 acres statewide, according to the state's Forestry Commission. The Pineland Road fire in Clinch County has grown to nearly 30,000 acres and is only 10% contained. In Florida, firefighters say the state is experiencing one of its worst fire seasons in decades, with more than 130 active wildfires. Officials in both states cite dry conditions, high winds, and a lack of rain as key factors making the fires difficult to control. Beware. RSS foxes from India are infiltrating the Western world. Questions arise as to why the RSS in India is influencing the Western world when there are attacks on minorities in India. The RSS, India's Hindu far-right group, has announced plans to visit the United States and other Western countries to bolster its global public image and refute claims that it is involved in violence against religious minorities in India. The visits were announced on Tuesday, amid international criticism of India's minority rights record, and after a U.S. federal agency published a report alleging that the group has been carrying out decades of violence against minorities. Hundreds of pastors, Christians and other Muslim clerics are already in prison in various Indian states. Strike causes fire at Abu Dhabi nuclear plant. Authorities in Abu Dhabi have responded to a fire at an electrical generator outside the Barakah nuclear power plant caused by a drone strike. The Abu Dhabi media office said no injuries have been reported, and there is no impact on radiological safety levels. Hamas military wing commander Haddad killed in Israeli strike. The Israeli military confirmed that Izz al-Din al-Haddad was killed in an airstrike in Gaza yesterday. According to the Israeli military, Haddad had recently worked to rebuild the capabilities of Hamas military wing and planned several terrorist attacks against Israeli civilians and IDF soldiers. Throughout the war, Haddad was involved in the capture of several Israelis in Hamas custody, the Israeli military said. Haddad was able to manage Haddad's hostage system, surrounding himself with hostages to prevent his elimination. The Left Democratic Front, LDF, in India has lost its last government. For the first time in nearly 50 years, the communists have been unable to govern a single Indian state. In India, new state governments have taken power in Kerala, Assam, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, and Puducherry. 3 Thadu tribe church leaders shot dead in Manipur's Kangpokpi. The victims from the Thadu tribe were traveling in 2 vehicles and were returning to Kangpokpi from Churachandpur district when they were attacked midway. At least 3 people were shot dead, and several others injured after unidentified armed men ambushed their vehicles in Manipur's Kangpokpi district on Wednesday, triggering an immediate blockade along National Highway -2 and heightened tension in the region. The victims were 3 church leaders belonging to the Thadu Baptist Association, TBA, including former Manipur Baptist Convention, MBC, General Secretary V. Sitlu. The 2 others were identified as V. Kaigulan and Paugulan, a pastor. According to reports, the victims were traveling in 2 vehicles and were returning to Kangpokpi from Churachandpur district after attending a TBA conference when they were attacked midway. The attack comes even as the conflict between the state's Meitei and Kuki-Zo communities has been continuing for 3 years. The Kuki Inpi Manipur KIM condemned the attack, describing it as a cowardly and barbaric ambush. The organization termed the killing of unarmed church leaders a direct assault on ongoing peace and dialogue efforts, and urged the government to conduct a thorough investigation and bring those responsible to justice.